I remember distinctly the day that the call to 19-year-old girls and 18-year-old boys came out. And the day before, I was actually talking with a close friend who had served a mission, much older. She's about 25. And I was talking to her and I was like, yeah, mission might be fun if I'm not in the middle of school or in the middle of work or in the middle of a family or, 21's kind of in the middle of life. And she's like, yeah, well, whatever happens will happen the way it needs to, and you just got to trust God and do what he asks you to do. And that was kind of the end of our conversation. And the next day came around and President Monson's announcement came out, and I kind of freaked out. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to serve a mission. And then after a while, I kind of lost interest. I saw all the other girls in my grade, because I went to a high school that was probably 90% Mormon. Saw all the other girls my grade going, oh, that announcement was just for me. That was just for me. And I'm going on a mission as soon as I can. And I started to think about it, and I was like, well, what if that call actually wasn't for me? What if I'm just jumping on the bandwagon? And I completely turned my back on a mission. I said, no, it wasn't for me. I'm not going on a mission. And the Holy Ghost kind of left me alone for a little while. He knew I had a year and a half to really think about it before I could turn in my papers. And so, but occasionally he'd prod me and be like, what about a mission? What about a mission? And I'd always just flip it out of my head, because I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And people would ask me about it, like, oh, are you dating anyone? Or, oh, no, you're not? Oh, you're going to go on a mission then? And I was like, no, I'm going to school. I have a life. I don't need to do this. And finally, one day in October, it was about probably 3 or 4 months before I could really get started on my papers. My aunt and uncle took me out to breakfast, and we were walking around the Provo Mall, and we were just talking, and my aunt was like, so Alice, what are you thinking about a mission? And I was like, don't even get me started. And she was like, well, why not? And she's like, and I said, well, what if I don't like the food? That was my top concern. What if I don't like the people? What if I don't like where I get called? What if? And she just kind of sat there and laughed at me. And she's like, oh, Alice, you'd be a great missionary. And she said something along those lines. But what I heard stopped me in my tracks. And it was the first time I'd ever heard a voice in my life. And it said, Alice, you're making up negative excuses for going on a mission when there are none. You need to reconsider. And just kind of left it at that. And I just kind of stood there flabbergasted for a couple seconds. Did I really just hear that? I had never had anything so straightforward come from God before, I feel like. And so I went home and I prayed about it, and I didn't hear the voice again, but I definitely felt a confirming feeling in my heart that that's what I needed to do. So I called my mom, and we set up all my doctor's appointments 3 months in advance, and I was able to turn in my papers at the beginning of the year, and left about 4.5 months later, and the rest is history.